Hello and welcome back to Easy English with James. Today we're going to look at the 24 most difficult English words to pronounce. If you really want to check how good your pronunciation is, or you want to really try to improve your pronunciation, see if you can pronounce the next 24 words. Don't worry if you can't. I'm going to show you along the way. Okay, stick with me. We're going to learn the 24 most difficult words in English to pronounce. Okay, number one is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. It's difficult because there's so many vowel sounds in there. Listen. On, ma, p, There's quite a few schwa sounds in there, and there's lots of a big mix of vowel sounds. What is onomatopoeia? Onomatopoeia is when a word sounds like the thing that word is talking about. A word that sounds like what it represents. So for example, the word boom. The word boom actually sounds like something boom, okay? Something booming. The word crack sounds like crack. When you crack an egg, that word crack sounds like the actual cracking. So that's onomatopoeia. I am in the middle of making a whole lesson all about onomatopoeia, so make sure you have subscribed to this channel if you don't want to miss that video coming very soon. Okay? Repeat after me. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. Okay? Onomatopoeia. Number 23 is quinoa. Quinoa. Quinoa is a new and very popular health food, especially in the Western world where I live. It actually comes from a Spanish root, and it's a type of very healthy grain that you can eat. Even native English speakers sometimes pronounce this wrong. They'll say quinoa or quinoa, but it's actually quinoa. 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 Okay? Quinoa. Number 22, a nice long word for you now. Lackadaisical. Lackadaisical. Lackadaisical basically means lazy or careless, okay? We can add an ly on the end and make it even more difficult. Lackadaisically. Lackadaisically. Okay? Lackadaisically. You might hear someone say, if you weren't so lackadaisical with your studies, you'd be really good at this by now. Meaning that if you weren't so lazy and you studied more, you could be very good by now. Lackadaisical. Lackadaisical. This is strangely, even by native English speakers, often produced with an extra S in the middle. Lots of native English speakers will say lackadaisical. And I'm not quite sure where that S comes from, but the correct pronunciation is lackadaisical. Lackadaisical. Repeat after me. Lackadaisical. Lackadaisical. Okay, now try lackadaisically. Lackadaisically. Okay, well done. Okay, number 21 is anthropomorphic. Anthropomorphic. Now, this word has some really interesting meaning. Anthropomorphic is when you take something that is not human and you try to give it human-like features or feelings or characteristics. So if I say to you, the sea was angry yesterday, of course you know that the sea can't really be angry. The sea is not like rah like this. So I'm making the sea look like it's having human people emotions. The angry sea, okay? The cold and sad sky. The sky, it's not really human and it can't really be sad. But sometimes when you look at the sky and it has that feeling, you'll say, it's a sad sky today. That is anthropomorphic, okay? It's when you give human features to non-human things, okay? Anthropomorphically is the one with the ly on the end, the adverb, anthropomorphically, okay? Try it, repeat after me. Anthropomorphic, anthropomorphic, anthropomorphic. It's difficult because it's got that THR in the middle. Anthropomorphic, anthropomorphic, okay? Number 20 is specific, specific. This is only really difficult because you've got that SP at the beginning, spi, and then you've got two different types of C. You've got the S pronunciation, the S, spis, and then you've got K at the end, specific. A lot of people tend to get this the wrong way around and say specific or something like that. Specific. You can make this again more difficult by changing it into its adverb form, specifically, specifically. Specific means kind of like exactly the thing that I'm talking about, exactly the thing that I mean, okay? So if you say, I want a USB adapter, you might be asked, which one specifically? I specifically want a USB-C adapter. Exactly that one. I specifically want that USB adapter, the USB-C, okay? Repeat after me, specific, specific, and specifically, specifically, okay? Okay, the next word we have is squirrel, squirrel. Squirrel is also a really difficult word because you have to move your mouth a lot to be able to say it. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. It's a really cute, furry little animal, okay? Most people, there's loads of them in England where I live. Squirrels, squirrels, okay? Try this. A square with a squirrel and a squid. You've got lots of that squa sound. A square, inside the square is a squirrel and a squid. A square with a squirrel and a squid. A square with a squirrel and a squid. Okay, repeat after me. A square with a squirrel and a squid. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one is the word epitome. This is one of my favorite words in English. It just sounds nice to me. Epitome. Epitome. The epitome, or an epitome in English, means a perfect example of something. If you want to give an example, but that example is 100% perfect for what you're trying to give an example of, you would say it's the epitome of that thing. If you want to talk about a beautiful woman, you might find, okay, this woman is the epitome of beauty. She's a perfect example of beautiful. Okay, you might say Superman is the epitome of superheroes. Okay, he's like the perfect superhero. He's everything. He's got every power. He's so good at everything. He's the epitome. He's brave, confident, fast, strong. He's a perfect example of a superhero. Okay, epitome is a perfect example of something. Repeat after me. Epitome. 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 Number 17 is the word often. Often, the reason this is tricky is because depending on where you are in the English-speaking world, this will be pronounced either with a T or without a T. About half the English-speaking world will say often, with no T in there. The T is silent. Often. I often go swimming. I often play football. But there are a lot of English native speakers who will also pronounce this with a T, like so. Often. I often play football. I often play video games. Okay, I often go shopping. So it can be quite tricky to know which one is correct. And I'm going to tell you today that in language, there is no real correct way to pronounce this. Most native speakers today will just use often. Often with a silent T. Why? Because it's easier and it's a lot quicker to say. But in many circles, you will still hear often. Often. Okay? Number 16, the next one is phenomenon. 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 What is a phenomenon? A phenomenon is an event or thing that we can observe, we can watch closely. You might say the UFO phenomenon, okay? It's something that people are seeing in the sky. We're not really sure what it is, but we can observe it. It's a phenomenon, okay? The UFO phenomenon. So you might know when you're walking down the street sometimes and you can feel somebody looking at you. That is a phenomenon. It's something that we all have experienced, we can observe. We're not quite sure how it works yet. Phenomenon. Phenomenon, okay? Phenomenon. Try it. Phenomenon. The phenomenon of UFOs. Do you believe in UFOs? Do you think UFOs are aliens? Do you think UFOs are something else? Write that in the comments. I'd love to know your opinion. Are UFOs real or not? Okay? Number 15 is the word rural. Rural. Rural means something that is a part of the countryside, of or in the countryside, okay? If you live in a rural area, you live in an area where there are not any really large, tall buildings or many people, okay? You live in a rural area. Rural. This is difficult because you've got two R sounds and an L sound. It can be very difficult for speakers from Eastern Asia, like China and Japan, because you've got those difficult R and L sounds that don't exist in those languages. There's a really good way to practice this one though. Truly rural. He lives in a truly rural area. Try this sentence. He lives in a truly rural area. Rural. Okay? He lives in a truly rural area. Well done. Number 14 is the word temperature. Temperature. This is difficult because there's a silent sound in the middle. And it's more difficult because there doesn't have to be a silent sound in the middle. Sometimes that sound is not silent. You might hear very rarely, some people say temperature. 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 But when we speak really quickly in English, we don't use that middle E, which is a schwa sound. We don't say temperature. We just say temperature. 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 Okay, the temperature, as you know, is how hot or how cold something is. Today in England, the temperature is just 4 degrees Celsius. It's a little bit cold. The temperature is just 4 degrees Celsius in England today. What is the temperature in your country today? Write that in the comments as well. What is the temperature in your country today? Temperature. 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 Number 13 is the word draft. Draft. Some English speakers might pronounce this draft. Draft, depending on how posh you are, okay? Draft or draft. And this actually means it means two things, either a cool wind blowing through from somewhere. So you might hear somebody say, there's a cold draft coming from that window. There's a cold wind, a draft. Draft because it's coming through these places, sort of like this, a cold draft. You'll also hear this used in pubs in England, draft beer or draft beer. It means beer or drinks that come from a keg, okay? Any drink that comes from a keg and you pour it like this is draft beer or a draft drink, okay? Some people prefer beer from a bottle, some people prefer beer from a can, and some people prefer draft beer. If you do drink beer, tell me which one you prefer, beer from a bottle, beer from a can, or draft beer, okay? Draft or draft. Draft beer or draft beer. Be very careful because a lot of people mispronounce this word. Mispronounce means they pronounce it wrongly. And they'll say something like draught, or even drought. Okay, and drought is something very different. Drought means when there's no rain for a long time. So be careful with the difference between drought, and draft, okay, or draft. Practice with me. Draft, and draft. Okay, well done. Number 12 is the word scissors. We all know what scissors are. They are the things you use to cut things. Scissors is difficult because of the amount of s and z sounds in there. You start the word with a s, si, si. Then you have a z, sizz, and then you have a, and then another z on the end. So si, z, z. Scissors. Si, z, z. Scissors. Scissors. The scissors. Try this if you want to make it even more difficult. The 66 scissors. The 66 scissors. The 66 scissors. Okay, well done. Scissors. Number 11 is the word deteriorate. Deteriorate. It's difficult because there's a lot of vowel sounds in there. Look at all these vowel sounds. Deteriorate. Deteriorate. Deteriorate means to become worse or become less, to go down. If someone's health is deteriorating, it means they're getting more sick. They're becoming more sick. Deteriorate. So you could say his health is deteriorating. His health is deteriorating. Practice really slowly with me. Deteriorating. Deteriorating. Okay? And deteriorate. Deteriorate. Well done. Okay, the next word is the word comfortable. Comfortable. This is difficult because, again, you'll notice a silent sound, a silent letter in the middle there. We don't say comfortable. We say comfortable. 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 Okay? Some people might have a really small schwa sound in the middle. Comfortable. 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 But most speakers today, especially in England where I live, will just use this word or say this word with 3 syllables. Comfortable. 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 Practice with me. Comfortable. Comfortable. This chair is really comfortable. My bed is really comfortable. Okay, and another word just like comfortable is the word vegetable. Number 9 today is vegetable. Again, we don't say vegetable or vegetable. We just say veg, and then that next E, we don't say. Vegetable. Vegetable. 3 syllables. Vegetable. Vegetable. I like vegetables. My favourite vegetable is... my favourite vegetable is the carrot, I think. I like carrots, okay? My favourite vegetables are carrots. What are your favourite vegetables? Number 8 is the word anemone. It's a beautiful type of flowering plant, okay? Found all across the world. Anemone. Anemone, okay? A lot of people pronounce this really wrong. There's a million different ways to get this word wrong. But the correct pronunciation is anemone. 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 If you like beautiful flowers, you probably will like anemones. Okay? Number 7 is the word isthmus. Isthmus can be tricky because it looks like it has a TH in the middle, but we don't say it. Most people don't say that TH. It's not isthmus, which would be really difficult to say. It's isthmus. Isthmus. Isthmus is when you have a narrow, that's thin piece of land connecting 2 other pieces of land with water on either side. A lot of countries have a little part near the sea where there's an isthmus. Isthmus, okay? Repeat after me, isthmus. Isthmus. Number 6 is 3 different words. They're all the names of places or counties in England. You've got Worcestershire, Gloucestershire, and Leicestershire. The reason they're difficult is because there's so many silent sounds in there and pronunciations that don't quite fit with what they look like they should be. Worcestershire, Worcestershire, Worcestershire. On its own, the word shire becomes the word shire, okay? Shire. You might know Shire from Lord of the Rings. Shire, when it's at the end of a word, becomes sheer. Worcestershire, Gloucestershire, Leicestershire, Cambridgeshire, Oxfordshire, okay? So, repeat after me. Worcestershire, Oxfordshire, Cambridgeshire, Gloucestershire, Leicestershire. Well done. Number 5 is etc. This one is really often mispronounced by native English speakers. Even native English speakers will, for some reason, have the letter X in here. They'll say etc. But it's actually just et. It's etc. etc. And it comes from Latin, a really old ancient language that the Romans used to use, okay? Etc. And it literally means more of something, more examples of something. So you might say apples, oranges, pears, etc. Etc. means and more of those things I was talking about, etc. Be careful, don't pronounce this like many native speakers do and say etc. That's not correct. It is simply etc. 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 Okay? Number 4 is hierarchical. Oh, this is a really difficult word to pronounce. Hierarchical. There's a lot of sounds in there and a lot of movement of your mouth and jaw. Hierarchical. Hierarchical. A hierarchy is an order of top to bottom, okay? In your job, there is a hierarchy. There will be a person at the bottom, there'll be a supervisor, then a manager, then a general manager, then an area manager, and then maybe the CEO. That is the hierarchy. An organization or a thing or a place that has a hierarchy is hierarchical. Hierarchical. You could talk about the hierarchical structure of the army. In the army, you've got ranks that go from bottom all the way up to the top general. It's a hierarchy. It's hierarchical. Repeat after me. Hierarchical. 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 Number 3 is the word mischievous, okay? Mischievous comes from the word mischief. It's another really difficult word to pronounce. And a lot of people aren't sure whether to say mischievous or mischievous. Which part of the word do we stress? The correct part of the word to stress is the first syllable. Mischievous. Mischievous. Mischievous is a little bit naughty. When children are doing something a little bit funny or naughty, we would say they are being mischievous. Cats and kittens often are very mischievous. They do funny things that are a little bit naughty. Mischievous. Repeat after me. Mischievous. 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 Number 2 is actually a rank in the military. We talked about the military when we talked about hierarchy. Number 2 is colonel. Colonel. Now, this word looks like it should be pronounced colonel. Colonel. But it's one of those really crazy English words where we pronounce it completely differently to how it looks. It is colonel. A colonel in the army. Colonel. Colonel. Okay? Okay, number 1 today, the final word, is a really difficult word. Take a look at this. This word means using a lot of long words, which is interesting because this is a long word itself. Sesquipedalian. 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 Try that for me. Sesquipedalian. You try and say this as many times as you can and as fast as you can, and I promise you it's going to be really difficult. Sesquipedalian. Sesquipedalian. See if you can give me an example sentence with this really advanced English word in the comments below. Sesquipedalian. Sesquipedalian. Okay, well done. Thanks very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Remember, if you did enjoy this lesson, hit that like button and that subscribe button, and I will see you again for another lesson very soon. Okay, bye-bye.